Hey, podcast family, this is Albert Tate. Thank you so much for tuning back in. I hope you're sharing it with your friends. I hope you're talking about it. These are opportunities for me to inspire you, encourage you, challenge you. Hope you laugh a little bit, cry a little bit, pray a little bit. Hope you laugh a lot. We're going to have a good time. Today, we're talking about moments that shaped us and how communication shapes us. A lot of times you don't think about it, but I'm a communicator. I think about it all the time, how communication shaped. I remember hearing the Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech and how it shaped me. How has communication shaped you? How has what someone had said lifted you, encouraged you, and some of you maybe even abused you or hurt you? Joe Saxton is in the building. Yo. I had an amazing conversation with Joe Saxton. She's one of the greatest communicators that's out right now, and she's an amazing author and writer. I had a wonderful time talking to her about communication, leadership, being a woman in ministry, doing what she does. And she also has a message for some men and pastors and how we could help lead women better. I'm telling you, we laughed so hard. I think snot came out of Joe's nose. She won't admit to it. She ain't gonna tell the truth, but I saw the snot bubble. It came out. We had a good time. Check it out. Joe Saxton, Moments That Shaped Us, all about communication.
Stadia has had the honor of helping hundreds of great leaders start new churches. We have a passionate desire to make sure that every child on the planet can experience the overwhelming love of Jesus Christ through the local church. This vision compels us to ask one very important question. Who's next? Who are the leaders that God is raising up to plant new churches? Who are the leaders that will answer the call to say, I'll follow, I'll raise up this generation, the next generation to know Jesus Christ and to change the world forever? Are you ready to start your church planting journey? Perhaps you know someone who is. Stadia is ready to help, and we'll be with you every step of the way, because we won't stop until every child has a church.
Hey everybody, we got Joe Saxton in the building. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm so honored to have you to sit with me and talk for a little bit today. I love your ministry. My wife has absolutely loved your book, and it's been so amazing. How's the book doing, by the way?
You know, I decided I wasn't going to find out for a while.
So you're not looking on Amazon? You're not doing the thing?
No.
But this isn't your first book.
No.
The name of your first book was?
Well, the first book I wrote, you know what, I should remember. It's called Real God, Real Life. It's out of print now. It's sitting in my house.
I see, it was so meaningful for you, you barely remember the title. Real God, Real Life. But the name of this one is?
This one is called The Dream of You.
The Dream of You. And you're not looking. When are you gonna look? What's the time? What's the timeline?
Probably about a month or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happened when you look? What are you expecting to see? What gives you a sigh of relief when you look? What gives you an exhale?
You know what? I'm not sure.
Come on, yes,
okay,
it's a number. You
no,
gotta go.
No, I don't have a number.
It's not a number,
no.
but what is it?
I think it's more if like the publishing team and all of that feel pretty good about it. Then I'll be like, okay, I'll feel good about it.
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. So are you reading? You're not reading comments?
No. I don't read the comment sections ever. Just in life.
Let me bring you some comments from people on my staff and from my amazing wife. It's amazing and it's blessing them. So they appreciate you and they love it. She's so jealous that I'm sitting here talking to you now, so I'm excited. So there's one comment that you can take.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You've sold at least 3 books. I'm gonna tell you that now.
Go.
I don't know what the number's gonna look like on Amazon there, but you got 3 books. Tell me about the first time you heard someone speak and it moved you in a way that marked you for your whole life. In other words, rhetoric that was so powerful where you thought, wow, that was amazing.
Oh yeah, I was 18. I was at Bible college, and I'd ended up at Bible college for odd reasons, because I was actually not walking with the Lord when I started at Bible college. I just had wanted to leave home, and it was easily done. So I was there. So there was always going to be some collision at some point, really, wasn't there? But I remember there are 2 talks that come to my mind, and one was this was the principal of the college, Dr. William Davis, his name was, and he was quite a kind of quite a sedate in many ways man, and quite calm. But when he preached, it was like this lion comes out.
Wow.
And as he preached, he said, God's hold on you is stronger than your hold on him. And then he swung his arm and he said, and he won't let you go. Like that. And I remember thinking, and just it arresting my heart. And then I think the following week, I should have known really that I wasn't going to.
You were just being set up.
It was a complete set piece by the King of Kings, and he took me down. And the next week was another member of staff. She was the Old Testament professor, and he was the kind of person who arrested your attention. She was the one who kind of just compelled you inwards, kind of thing. You know, like some people, like you're there, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm there and I can't leave. Yeah. And she simply asked, why do you do the things you do? And that was it.
You still remember that?
Oh yeah.
You know what's amazing to me? Even when you just talked about the first professor and how he did that, when you moved your arm like that, I felt it.
Yeah.
Like when that motion, how communication shapes you and moves you, and they're just things that just mark you, and it shapes you. When did you see it done and you said, I'm going to do that one day?
Ooh, that one, I was 19.
A year later?
Yeah, I was 19. Oh, was I? No, I was already doing it, actually. I was already doing the first time I spoke, like, publicly, I was 12.
So public speaking was kind of a thing?
It was a wrestle. I was wrestling it to the ground and losing.
Wow.
I was, when I was 12, it was a Sunday school church anniversary, and I was given the talk. It was on the gifts of the Holy Spirit. I don't know anything else about that.
Look at you.
I know. It was insane.
Preaching on tongues at 12 years old.
Yeah, they didn't ask me again. But anyway, and then I was in my late teens, but I was having there was just always this wrestle with whether I was going to serve the Lord or not.
So at 19, when you were saying, what happened at 19?
Yeah, you know, I remember, that's right, it was a conference. It was this conference and this guy was speaking and he was someone who I'd admired. And I don't remember what he preached about, but I remember he was just standing there at the end. And I looked and thought, I suspect there were two things going on in my mind. One was the arrogance of my mind thinking, yeah, I can do that. And I will. And then the other was thinking, oh no, I'm going to do that.
Wow.
And I will.
Wow.
I mean, it was the kind of, it was, I was very conflicted about the whole communication thing for a very long time.
When did the conflict resolve?
I was 26.
What happened?
A guy happened. He was a believer, but it was just, anyway, it was this kind of moment where it was.
Is this like an ex-guy, like an ex-boyfriend? Oh,
yeah.
Wow, okay.
No, boyfriend is generous.
Okay,
it was
just
one of
the
those
guy.
really awkward kind of will we, won't we, won't we,
Okay.
which sound great, but in life are just terrible.
It's just terrible,
that one. And all my friends were like, no, stay away from me. I'm like, no, I just need to know where we stand. But
everyone has a I need to know relationship.
But you don't need to know.
No, you don't need to know nothing.
It's
obvious.
It's obvious.
It is obvious. Everyone
the dude
knows.
is not saying yes.
But you just
it's
like,
a no.
But we just need to, I'm just going to ask him.
I'm just going to ask him.
I'm going to sit down and I'm going to ask him.
We're going to sit down, we're going to clear it out.
It is the dumbest
there's something
thing
going
ever.
on.
I just need closure. He's closed it.
He closed
Everything is closed.
He left the country.
It's closed. He has left the building. I'm going to call him.
I'm going to call him. I just need to be sure
That is
because
so
I
funny.
just feel.
Let me tell you something. Everybody out there who's listening has one of those.
Yeah.
I just need to know.
Can I just say,
moments.
if it's a maybe, it's a no. Okay.
And let me just say, you've never heard a couple that's been married for 20 years and she called and said she just needed to know, and I changed my mind.
I changed my mind.
It's never worked.
No.
Every call always ends in destruction.
Save yourself.
It's like sin.
Sometimes the one that got away needed to leave.
He
That's
needed
the
to
thing.
get away.
He needed,
Praise
may the door
Jesus
hit you on the way out,
that
kind of
she
thing.
and he is
Yeah.
good. Okay, I don't
Anyway,
know.
that
we
was not
went into a whole other relationship, but obviously somebody
But that was free.
listening needed to hear that in the spirit.
Amen.
So at 26.
26, I think I'd gotten to the point where I was exhausted of compromising who I was for what I wanted.
Wow.
And I had tried. I mean, in fairness to the dude, he was a decent guy. But I think I'd kept on packaging myself to try and be, and try and be more a sanitized version of myself, less wild or less forthright, more contained. And I think when that didn't happen, when that particular relationship didn't come to pass, I remember I'd preached at a young adults conference at our church that weekend, and he was there, and God was moving, and it was beyond me, it was beyond. And I remember enjoying it and loving it. And then in the ministry time, people like laying down their lives and all kinds of junk coming to the surface because God was on the move, and looking and almost being frightened and in awe of what I saw before me in terms of what God was doing. And then thinking, I need to make a decision about my life. I've been wrestling with this for a long time now. This is what God does. Can I trust this God? Wow. Can I trust him? And then I thought, this is going to break my heart and it's going to be really miserable, but I'm not looking back.
Wow.
So that was the moment. And then from that point on, this is me.
Wow. Now I gotta ask. Whatever. Did you ever see the guy again? You ever see him like at conferences? Is he like a pastor somewhere at some church?
Oh no, I haven't seen him recently.
Okay,
no.
but he's and it's you feel you like when you see him. What happens is like, thank you, Jesus, because he's kind of like a marker. He's like your memorial. He's
like it was.
He's like your Ebenezer.
Yeah, back at the time. I remember. I think the last contact was probably, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Wow.
And you know what? It was like, it wasn't even weird. I remember just thinking, yeah.
Good.
But I had no regrets. I think when you have no regrets, it's easier.
You just get free.
And it wasn't even that reaction to somebody either. It wasn't like I'm fine. It was
God. I think God will use people to free you. And I feel a sense of gratitude. Although it's awkward in how it all, but I feel like a sense of gratitude because God, you gave me a great gift in that. And now the world is experiencing the gift of you because you made a commitment to be free. So that's a blessing. Amen. Thank you, Ebenezer.
Amen. We'll take it.
Tell me about your process when you get ready to preach. Is there a prayer you pray whenever you get ready to preach? Or what's the conversation you have with yourself before you walk out on the stage?
There are a couple of things I do just before I'm about to walk out on the stage. And one is I'm like, God, unless you come, this is a waste of your time. I'm like, God, seriously, I need to know you. I have this kind of conversation saying, are we doing this? If you're not here, then show me the door. I'm leaving. That is my often common prayer. Yeah. And then sometimes for until very recently, actually, when I would pray before, I would always picture myself standing on God's hand.
Oh wow.
And him going like that.
Oh wow.
That was always the picture in my mind. That would be in my head. Now I tend to feel like I'm about to box. I don't know why that is. I've just noticed myself do that. Even today, I could see myself like bouncing around and kind of like, okay, let's go. Kind of thing. I'm like, okay, Joanna, you need to stop.
Now, is there
people
music?
Don't know you.
Is there music going on in there too, or just a
Sometimes there is.
All right.
And it's never appropriate.
It's never,
or at least it's not like a worship song.
Come on,
all I do is
Drake.
win.
All I do is win.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
It's awesome. But that is in my so often. It's like
my hands go up. And they stay there. And they stay there. Oh, yeah.
That's often in my head.
Oh, that's preaching music. Oh,
it is so, isn't it?
Oh, my God, yes.
It's so preaching music.
That is preaching music.
It's like you're ready.
Don't get it twisted. That is preaching
you're ready.
music. What's a sermon that you could preach for the rest of your life?
That it's never too late for him to transform your life. Yeah, always. I always, somehow, I always want to find it in there and say, come on now. He can transform you from the inside out.
Wow. Have you ever been preaching and found yourself standing outside of yourself, watching yourself preach?
Yeah.
I hear preachers talk about that. What is that like?
It's a little weird, but I think I often reflect on them with the Lord afterwards, and I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like there was one time I was speaking in Cincinnati at a church there, and it was a moment where I don't know whether I'd come from some tough time it was like seeing myself walk on stage. And get ready and really feeling excited to serve this congregation and to be with them, but also thinking, God, you're in this, aren't you? I was like, this is gonna be good. Yeah. This is gonna be good.
Yeah, that's good.
that was phenomenal.
Do you still get nervous?
Yeah.
Still get a little nerves. When have you ever been going in the middle of a sermon and you just look out and you are bombing, like it is not going well at all? Have you ever had that feeling or that moment?
I'm going to think about that. Yes. Yeah, I have moments where I feel uncertain.
Just kind of fumbling a little?
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, are we going to land? Are we going to land? And it might be a preparation thing. For me, like if I didn't prepare, and it's not always like every word or every note, but if I didn't even prepare spiritually for it and stuff.
Yeah.
I tend to bomb if I'm going to bomb, I bomb for a moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, God, yeah.
Well, what I learned early on is if I fumble out the gate, finding the recovery.
Yeah.
And getting the recovery, because if you fumble out the gate and you miss something, you tell something and it doesn't land, or it didn't land, or it's not, and it's like, or you stumble and you're like, and then you mess up your rhythm and you don't get it, then fighting to get it back. You know what I mean? And I learned if I ain't got it back, it's gonna be one heck of an altar call. We just gonna pray. We just gonna call down heaven on the end, and I'm not gonna. Somebody gotta come. Somebody, and then Jesus just gets the glory. We work it out.
Amen.
Oh my goodness. How do you handle negative feedback?
Depends on who it's from, because I don't believe all feedback's created equal.
That's good.
You know,
that's really good.
So if it's, like there are. I'm laughing because I remember social media adds a new flavor to some of that now. Do you know what I mean? Yes. Because you can be real passive aggressive.
Oh yeah.
And stuff and that. So I remember recently I was apparently I'm not a believer. I'm not a Christian because I'm a woman preaching or being a pastor or something. So and I don't take the Bible seriously. And I thought,
oh wow.
Okay.
Is that because you use humor, or
I do use humor a lot. I think it was just in principle.
They were just saying just in principle.
Just because you're there.
So how do you deal with the woman critique and people disqualifying you or suggesting you are less than because you're a woman? Because you go in all kinds of spaces.
Yeah, I do. I go in all kinds of spaces, and I've decided it's not my problem. I think if someone has a problem with it, that's okay. They can have a problem with it. It's just not mine.
Yeah. I
think when I was younger, and I think that was part of some of the wrestle in the early days of wrestling to the ground this calling, and it's like, you know what? I am called, and God's anointed it, and He can stop me any given time.
Yeah.
And it's okay that you're a member of my extended in Christ family, and you don't believe I should be there. That's absolutely fine. But that is actually not going to stop anything that I'm doing, because I don't give an account to you on the last day. I give an account to Him, and so it's not to say it's not vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it doesn't impact me sometimes. Shonda Rhimes, my dear friend, I wish, talks about in a book. She talks about being the first, only different, and
wow.
I know, right? Just let that sink in a little
good.
second. It's good, isn't it? First, only different. And I often find myself in spaces where I'm the first, the only, and the different.
Yeah.
And the first woman, and the first, or the only woman of color, or do you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes there have been times when I've noticed, even as I'm preaching, people begin to change their opinion.
Yeah.
And which is fun. I like those.
It feels good.
It feels good. I'm like,
I got you.
Like, it's like that's all right, my love.
Yeah.
But there are other times when people don't change their minds, and they're like, well, but again, I leave it with them. That's for them to have their arguments with. And often, the great thing is now as well is that if they don't believe in women speakers, I don't get invited. So do you know what I mean? I don't get invited.
Yeah.
And so there's no gymnastics to do.
And your calendar's still full, so you're doing good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's like, you do you.
What would you say, to a pastor who's a male leading young women who have a gift and a calling to communicate?
Gosh.
Give it to me, girl. Give it to me.
I would say to them that is absolutely essential that you are really proactive in investing in their gifts. I'll say to them, you have to tell them, you have to ask them, don't ask them once if they want to do this thing, ask them at least 10 to 15 times, because your voice is a whisper compared to all the other things that have told them what they can be as a woman and as a leader. Your voice is a whisper. You think you're shouting loud. You are a mile away calling them. You think your arms are open wide and you're welcoming them. For a woman to stand on that stage, she's had to reason all kinds of things about her body, her worth, her value, what people think, because we know that there are people who don't think that women should be speaking, that women shouldn't be there, depending on their stage of life, whether as a married woman, whether as a mother of young kids, all those things. So I would say shout really loud.
That's so
Give
good.
them visible, accessible examples as often as you can.
That's good.
Include them, invite them in the conversations, find ways find ways to equip and train them, because what can often happen is that we give lip service to women leading, but then we don't create on-ramps or tracks for them to learn. Because we want to have healthy boundaries. Absolutely have healthy boundaries, but mentor a group of them then. You know, Jesus did a lot with his disciples and they were all there. Just do them all. Do you know what I mean? Do a training with them, all of them, and give them tangible opportunities, and know that in giving them tangible opportunities, you may have to sacrifice some of yours, because we don't just need mentors, we need sponsors. You know,
talk about that a little bit more. What do you mean?
Well, I'll give you an example. My senior pastor, when in my 20s, the one who he was kind of watching me wrestle things to the ground, and there was a conference in England that he was the most popular speaker at, and you know, we know that in certain spheres that if you get to speak at things, then you get the book deals, you get other, you know, you get all the accoutrements.
Basically everything you're getting now.
Yeah, you get all those things, all the things with it. And he was a speaker, and then he arranged it that he said, you know, our church will take on the evening. And our church was doing all these fun things with young adults at the time, so people were really excited. And then he said, Joe's going to speak. And he basically gave up. He knew that the way for me to get an opportunity was for him not to have one. So they didn't arrange him for another day. He just didn't speak that year. Got it. And it was the difference between you're called to preach and I really believe in you to we're going to make this actually happen.
Here's the stage.
Here's the stage.
Yeah.
And he stood there, and then some people didn't even realize until I walked out that he wasn't speaking, because he was in all the brochures and everything. He stood on the stage and he's like, and away you go.
Wow.
And I tell you, that was a moment that marked me for a different reason in terms of what it takes to raise up other leaders, and that this is a white guy raising up someone who is not from his world, not like him, who was willing to step aside and leverage what he had to release another. And I think if we are as pastors, if we're wanting to raise up women who speak, that it's got all of those things need to be involved. Help them to cultivate their voice, because I remember looking and the team I was working with were wonderful, but they're all dudes. I'm like, I'm not going to tell your jokes because I don't think they're funny. Point one. Also, they're not me. And England is a kind of reserved, stiff upper lip culture. I'm Nigerian. That's all I'm going to say about that. Do you know what I mean? I'm a Nigerian Londoner. So I needed to know I could be bold and loud and sing halfway through the talk and jump around through the talk and not feel like I was being weird for doing so. You know, and if you can create cultures and environments where you can celebrate the different flavors that God has anointed his speakers in, and that woman's got to be free to lead like the woman that she is.
Joe,
those things will be good for her.
That's gold. Now I speak to the woman that's in that position, and how would you encourage her, and what does she need to know from your perspective? Roll them up again. Roll them up. I love it.
I would say to her, first of all, your voice matters. I'd say, look me in the eye, first of all, and I'd say, you are a leader. You do have something to say. You have edited yourself for too long now. You've always known this, and I know that you're scared. And it is scary, and it is lonely, and it is tough, but it is doable.
Wow.
I would say to her, study hard for the things you want to learn, but chances are you've already been doing that. And I say these are some of the things that you need. You need a sisterhood and a brotherhood, and you need your community around you who will be waiting when you get off that stage because of the accusations in your head. You need to amplify your voice and allow others to amplify your voice so that they know that you actually want to do this. Don't feel embarrassed about the fact that you want to preach, and certainly don't feel embarrassed about the fact you want to preach to thousands, because it's only thousands. You know, it's only thousands. Don't feel embarrassed about your calling. You know, lift your head. I'd say lift your head, and then I'd say let's talk about what you're going to wear in a way that you enjoy. Do you know what I mean? And not in a kind of you must look like. I mean, just. Don't go into this apologetically. Do not lead apologetically, because the Lord isn't apologizing for anointing you the way he did. He's not upset about you. He's not intimidated, and he's not threatened. So we're going to enjoy this thing. We're going to enjoy this calling. I would say to her, what things help you feel physically free? So I did theatre at school, which I realise now was one of the best training things I ever for.
Really?
Because it freed me up in my own physicality and stuff. It made me feel less self-conscious. I would say to her, before you're about to speak, go on the stage and walk around. so that the first time you're walking is not when you're speaking.
Yeah.
And I would say, listen to the sound of your own voice loudly, and don't doubt it. Don't doubt it. You will feel afraid and all of those things, but don't doubt it. Just do it. And then do it again. Don't do it once. Like, you got to do it like 15, 20, 30, 40 times. And you're allowed to grow in this and grow better and all of that kind of stuff. And I tell you one thing that was really helpful for me that I often say to women who are preaching, I'd say, watch TV. Have a good dose of television. I was kind of raised on that. So have a good...
Me too, girl.
I was like, I don't know about those things of what you're meant to watch. I just watched it.
Yeah.
And look at the kind of people whose communication styles really appeal to you. Ask yourself why, because sometimes, who was it? It was Marion Wright Edelman who said, you can't be what you can't see. And so I know, right?
That's so good.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's
and
good.
I think often the challenge for women speakers is they haven't seen people who look like them to know the gamut of styles that may be them.
Yeah.
So have a look on TV and see who you like, or who resonates with you and why.
Yeah.
And what is it about them? Because that will help you locate your voice.
Good.
Will help you find your way through.
I love it. I love it. And that helps me too, child. I love it. I know there are women listening to this and watching this and burning on the inside because it's inspiring them. And that's the most profound thing, as you said, what I feel like is screaming is only a whisper.
Yes. I say that to guys all the time.
That's such a big deal.
And I'd say that about most leadership things, particularly in the church context with women. I would say, you think you're saying it loud, or they say, oh, I've asked her 3 times. I'm like, oh my gosh, you've only asked her. I thought, baby, sit down. Let me tell you.
That's good.
Sit down. That's not it.
So, Joe, at our church, we have something called Question of the Day.
Oh.
So during fellowship time, we ask our church a question, and they stand up and they turn around and ask it. So I want to end every episode with just a list of questions. And we call it the Question of the Day segment. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So just rapid fire your answer. Just give it to me. If you could join any musical ensemble of all times, which would it be? Roots. The Roots?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Now, would you be on the musician side or the rapping kind of singing?
I would want to be on the rapping kind of singing.
Okay.
I can sing.
Okay.
But I can't rap.
You probably got about 2 or 3 bars in you.
I probably do, actually.
You got a few bars,
but then
I'm sure.
I certainly
Especially
can't freestyle.
with the accent, though, you kind of probably be beastly. You should work on some stuff, right?
Maybe I should give it a try.
Oh, yeah.
But the Roots, because they look like they're having so much fun.
Oh, my God.
And years ago, I heard, back in the day of cassette tapes.
Oh, yeah?
Those glorious days.
Yes.
I heard, but in the UK, and it was the Roots with Jill Scott. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
That's Philly. I mean, they're all from Philly. So that's, it's. Oh, that's the best.
I mean, I think I stopped the music and just said, Lord, I just want to thank you for these people right now.
A spontaneous
right
praise.
Now. Let me just worship you because of that.
Yes, that's so good.
The Roots every time.
What is something that everyone else loves that you think is overrated?
My accent.
Really?
Yes. There's a lot of people who sound like me where I come from. But I say it's overrated, but I'm going to happily glean the benefits, don't get me wrong.
I bet you are, girl. I bet you are.
I don't create no fool here.
It is kind of the bomb.
Apparently so.
Americans are so simple, though. We
generous.
There you go. Sure. We freak out. Like, foreigners are just like, foreign accent. We're just, especially when you see us in foreign countries, it is the most embarrassing. We're terrible.
I've got to say, terrible. London in the summer, man, is crazy.
They're the Americans. There they go. And we're just,
there are distinctives.
America, where's the Eiffel Tower? Come on.
There are distinctives, I will say that.
We act like we own everywhere where we go. You know what I mean?
And don't understand how.
Just no cultural competencies at all.
I have one of the most awkward questions I'd be asked when we maybe. So what language do they speak in England?
Wait, you laughing too hard at Americans. Hold on. You're laughing too hard.
More than once.
You're laughing too hard.
I've been asked that more than once. What language do they speak in England?
I'm not shocked at all. I'm not surprised at all. All right.
Oh, God bless us.
What other profession would you consider pursuing if you weren't in ministry?
Journalist, playwright. Journalist and playwright.
That's good.
Would be the ones. Like a features journalist. I'd do the in-depth intrigue things.
Study.
Exposing.
Your Shonda Rhimes is starting to come out.
Yeah,
your Shonda coming out. It's Shonda.
Yeah,
what is
series, like a series.
There you go. Look at you.
I would do that kind of multi-hyphenate thing.
This is the new book.
That'd be amazing.
You're working on it. What is something you're bummed that you're still bad at?
Tap dancing.
What?
I always wanted to be. Tap dancing. I used to watch it on, raised by TV.
You were raised by too much TV. It's just too much.
And they used to do this thing.
No. Don't even do that to yourself. You got so many cool points with the Roots reference. I'm not going to let you lose it. Let's keep going. Because if you start doing this, you are going to lose all your cool points in the building. We got to stop. Let's stop it right now. We're going to edit that out. Y'all, she started flaring them hands. Lord Jesus. I
just think it's a shame.
No, it's a shame. It's a shame on many levels, Joe. What is something you used to be comfortable with saying that you're not comfortable saying anymore?
I can't even say it. I can't even say it. Thing is, Londoners have language. That's all I can say.
What do you mean? What?
Well, yeah, that's about it. I can't say it.
Come on. What are you talking about? Are you talking about profanity?
Yes, and just the depth of an insult and stuff. Just as a kind of earthiness. Yeah, anyway.
All right. That sounds good. That sounds like my kind of talk.
People would say to me about my tap dancing.
Okay, yeah, okay. What is something you pray a lot about that you don't talk about?
Oh, I pray a lot. I try to, there's a few. There's a list. I pray a lot for some of my kids' friends. Gorgeous, love them to bits, really feel cool to their friends and their families.
Yeah.
I pray a lot about trying to understand America.
Yeah. Good luck. Especially now. That's another episode.
That's another episode. Brother.
When was the last time you had to say, I'm sorry?
Whew. I'm trying to work out how many times I've said it today.
Well, you can say I'm sorry for that tap dancing move.
I ain't sorry.
I ain't sorry. Oh my God. Don't do that.
I ain't sorry.
Okay. So we'll just keep on past that question. We'll just keep on, because I brought it back. I'm sorry.
You did.
What is something that you are most often misunderstood about? What's something that's most often misunderstood about you?
What would I say? I was going to say that I have feelings.
But be honest. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like it's just assumed?
No, I think in the US, that the Brit thing is seen as quite not sedate, but kind of together.
Yeah.
But I'm a Nigerian Brit, which and I think probably I think sometimes people, and I get it because they don't necessarily are not familiar with Yoruba culture and things like that, don't always see how that fuels my thinking. Yes, that's it. I knew I was reaching. Extrovert processor. How that fuels my decision making and the way I do things.
The fact that you're Nigerian and Brit.
It explains why I don't argue about certain things, or why
when you don't engage at that level, then they make assumptions about you.
Assume it's
that
silence.
aren't accurate.
Yeah.
They think it's arrogance or.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
gosh. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. That makes sense.
That's just
that makes
life.
sense. What is arrogance often assumption? Because of your being empowered as a woman.
Aggression might be an assumption.
Yeah. Because your authority,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and the voice and the accent. I mean, all of that plays into this caricature.
Yes.
That people can just make assumptions about you.
Yeah. I think sometimes people have definitely, they have actually assumed a certain, that because I feel confident about certain things, or I'm not going to argue about certain things.
I'm not going that they assume that you think you're better, and I got it.
Yeah.
What is an area in your leadership that you're still growing in?
Every area.
That's a good answer.
Every area, but I think, you know what? I think at the minute, it's been about like dreaming big again on the other side of disappointments.
That's good.
Being able to kind of yeah, dream and dare. Again, on the other
Take
side
risk.
of disappointment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Last one. Favorite cuss word?
Oh no. No, I can't. It's a Brit word, but I know what it means.
You'll be the only one. Joe Saxton, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you.